13, with the star of Paramount Pictures,
M.L. Elric,
as Dan Holliday.
Box 13, care of Star Times. Your advertisement in the paper has intrigued me. Naturally, I wonder whether you are serious or insane. Either way, I think I should like to meet you and perhaps offer a proposition which may intrigue you. Incidentally, there is $100,000 concerned. Does that get your interest? If it does, I shall expect you at dinner tomorrow night.
You asked interrogative
Get your finger out of my face. Get your finger out of my face.
Take the first shot, then, if you want it,
Get your finger out of my face.
It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elric?
Hey there, welcome to the Mike Valenti podcast there, where you're all stupid, and I don't know why I'm even wasting my time with you guys, and Michigan State stinks until they win a big game, then they're the best ever, and I don't know what you guys out there, I don't even know why I bother with you guys, you're all idiots.
Is that some inter-school arguing there?
You're all idiots. What's your name, Scooby over there? What's the guy I always slap around now? Sorry, I'm just channeling my fellow Spartan, Mike Valenti. Your old pal, M.L. Elric here, Fox 2 News investigative reporter with the man who makes it all work, Mark Fellhauer. We're going to be joined a little later on by Sean Windsor of the Detroit Free Press. Great writer, great columnist. He's had some tremendous stories from the March Madness. He's just had some terrible picks, and we're going to tear him up for that. Drew Lane may be joining us later, or should I say Drew Wave for Room 7609. Of course, we have the great debate, Geek of the Week, lots of good things, but I'm very excited because for the first time in ML Soul of Detroit history, we have a guest in studio, and when he's in studio, you know it, because there ain't a lot of studio left, and I'm speaking, of course, of Daniel Ferguson III. You may know him as brother-in-law of Kwame Kilpatrick. You may know him as the cousin of Bobby Ferguson, but I know him as Dan the Man, a guy who's got a lot more going on than you may have thought, and we are going to hear his thoughts on various and sundry topics. But first, I got to call him out a little bit, because when he came in, Drew Lane said to him, as I'm sure many people do, say, damn, how big are you? And what'd you tell him?
6'7". I'm 6'8", roughly.
You told him, I'll tell you, 6'7 3/4. Now, guys who are over 6 foot can't be squeaking in fractions. My wife is 5 foot and 1/2 inch, and so that 1/2 inch is a big deal.
Right.
But when you're 6'7" plus, you got to get the 3/4 in, man.
Because when you put the shoes on, it make you 6'8". So, you know.
And now you're wearing lifts.
Well, it's funny when we knew you were coming. Our first thought was, oh no, he's gonna hit his head, because everybody hits their head down here.
Me too, and I'm only 6'1 and 7/8.
Exactly. There's not much clearance. That's why we need the fractions to know exactly how you know,
so
where not to hit your head.
Right.
So we got that's our first shot at Daniel. I'm feeling bold here, so we may push him around a little bit more. I don't know that's ever been done.
You know, I've always handled myself well with you, man.
Well, I know. I mean, we go back a ways, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we get to some more current events, you were a baller at Cooley, yes. Tore it up, highly recruited.
Yes. Went
down to Missouri. That was Norm Stewart back then.
Yep.
Didn't stay very long. What happened?
It was a little culture shock for me, being from the city, and I can honestly say that I was a little immature when I went down there. You know, I had came from a kind of a street background, so I didn't take it serious. You know, the money wasn't really there where you can just go straight to high school. That was unheard of. You know, I may have had the physical body, but I didn't go through the system, the program of.
No AAU, none of that stuff back then?
It wasn't as big. And
okay.
It wasn't as big. I'm looking for a picture now to show you.
I saw a high school picture online. I mean, I recognize the face, but there's a lot more Daniel Ferguson there now than there was back then.
When I graduated high school, I was like 225, maybe 230 pounds.
I was too with my prom date.
Or the two of you.
And she was the 200. I was the 25.
Well, you liked big girls back then.
No.
Oh,
Me, I had one rule. You return my call, and I take you out to the prom.
Very cheap date.
So you have some concerns about the way people are treated. can you talk a little bit about your concerns about how your brother-in-law is being treated?
I mean, what did he get convicted of?
Well, racketeering.
I mean, but what was the
Bribery,
racket?
extortion, fraud.
What was the racket though? What was the actual racket?
I
Because
guess
when
I
you
would
ask-
say
when
shaking
you-
down contractors, telling people you got to pay if you want to play. I mean,
None of that came out in the trial.
I sat through the whole trial. I saw a lot of it.
But I'm
John
saying,
Rutherford saying I gave him $10,000 to buy suits, which then he forgot back in Dubai. So I guess that's kind of a
okay,
kind
so why did John Rutherford say that? See, we getting off of that. I don't want to talk
yeah,
about that.
no. I know, but I just want to see if on the prison reform tip, if you see some applications there for what your brother-in-law is going, because it's a very personal issue for you,
Well-
not just because of your experience, but you told me that before you were part of the Kilpatrick family, you had written to Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, I assume Maxine Waters and some other high-profile members of the Black Caucus to say, what are we going to do about this?
Right, I wrote every member.
And
of
you
the
got blown
Congressional
off.
Black Caucus. Yeah, no replies.
Did you mention that at the wedding reception when you married Ayana? Like,
I didn't really get.
hey,
a
moms,
chance.
did you ever get my letter?
Yeah, I didn't really get a chance because at that time, when things are going,
Probably a good idea not to bring that up.
when things are going pretty good, you it's an afterthought. But the conversations that we did have was for the fact that when I got sentenced and I got to Milan, because I called my case in Nebraska, my case manager told me then that he could have sent me home on home confinement because I didn't have a custody level that justified me being behind the fence.
How long were you there before somebody said we could have sent you home a while ago?
A year. I had been locked up a year.
Okay.
I had 121 months. Within being locked up 12 months, when I get to the prison, the case manager tells me, for all practical purposes, I can send you home on home confinement. But because of the
what's the
mandatory minimum, you got 10 years.
Okay.
So you gotta stay here, but I'm gonna put you on gate pass, which meant I left out of the prison every day.
So
and
with the
worked.
gay pass, you can be as gay as you want.
No, gate pass.
Hey, I'm not judging. I know.
No, you
I've
read
heard
that
things.
wrong.
Oh, you need a pass
Gate-
for that?
Gate pass, not gay pass.
Okay,
Gate
all right.
pass.
I just want to be clear.
This guy here, yeah. So
Pushing these boundaries, man.
right, that's cool. That's
getting warm
cool.
in here.
With the gate pass, it was a blessing in disguise because guess what? I got to learn construction.
Okay. So you're like a trustee then?
Well, not really a trustee, but just
You can get outside the walls.
the fence. It wasn't actually walls. It's more a fence, and
We're going to build that wall, though. And they're going to pay for it.
Yeah, they gonna pay for it, and I won't be helping build it. But that's a whole nother story. But at that time, Bobby had just took over the company.
And this is Bobby Ferguson of
Yes,
Ferguson
my cousin, yeah.
Enterprises.
My uncle had got sick and he had passed away in '96. Bobby took over in '96, incorporated. It was Ferguson Hall, and then he incorporated, turned it into Ferguson Enterprise.
And what people don't understand is Bobby did very well under Mayor Kilpatrick, and maybe
Well, actually, he did better under Archer.
Well, that's what I was just going to get to. I mean, one of the reasons he did so well may be why he's doing more than 10 years in federal prison. But what people don't understand is Bobby Ferguson was doing excavation under Mayor Archer. He did work on CompuWare, and I believe on Comerica Park and maybe Ford Field. So
Both.
he was a legitimate contractor who took over second-generation family firm, according to a federal jury of very reasonable people who were very carefully selected. He kind of got a little carried away when his pal became mayor. But I think it should be noted that Bobby was a hard-working dude. Now, you don't want to call his wife after dark because he could be a hard-swinging dude too. But
he's not here. We ain't gonna talk about that.
No. But I'm just saying, Bobby Ferguson had some roots, and what people don't know, I think, even though I reported before, is that he and Kilpatrick met long after people think, oh, childhood friends and whatnot.
No,
they didn't meet until
they didn't
Kilpatrick
meet.
was in the legislature.
Yeah, well, actually, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't meet. I think they were introduced by Carolyn.
Oh, see, the story I always heard is that a constituent old lady needed her driveway
It
plowed.
wasn't her driveway; it was a senior's home.
Okay.
and they
Yeah, 'cause
needed somebody.
We don't want to say Kilpatrick's plowing old ladies because he plowed a lot of young ladies, and that got him in trouble.
Allegedly.
No, I think Christine Beatty admitted it.
Yeah.
No, allegedly.
And I think the Federal Monitor admitted it, and I think
We're gonna say allegedly.
yeah,
allegedly.
but
Can you tell us, like, how often do you talk to Kwame now?
Not that much. There's a system that we use where an email system.
Because I know you've posted messages from him on your Facebook
He
page.
shares stuff with the family, and certain stuff we share, certain stuff we keep close to the chest. And certain stuff needs to be shared because he's in there doing great works. He's helping dudes get educated. He's helping dudes with legal work. He's helping some dudes just come to him because they know he's been through so much.
He did have that one, or you had the post of his words a couple of years ago, and there seemed to be very little contrition in it. Is he? How does he take the whole case now? Like, what does he think about it?
I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking on that, like as if I'm speaking for him. But having did time before, I didn't have none. I mean, but that's me, and I got sentenced to 10 years. I didn't hurt nobody. Like everybody think he's supposed to be ashamed or something when even the government said they can't put a number amount on what the case costs. He doesn't owe restitution. And I mean,
he does owe restitution.
He does, yeah.
Well,
He owes $1 million from the perjury and
but
obstruction.
that's some BS. You know that's some BS, man.
I know I want that $1 million.
But you know that's some BS.
I mean,
and speaking of that, the reason he owes that is because of the salaciousness of those text messages.
Well, they were pretty salacious, and I'll tell you, we didn't publish the most salacious ones, although he thinks we went out to embarrass him. There's some I know that would be very embarrassing.
You guys did a bang-up job with that. That was, and then
He was doing some banging and came up with that.
Yeah, but that whole text message thing, that saved the print media here. There is no question about it, and it didn't become about the truth. It came about money. It became about these people eating this up, and we're gonna slang it to them.
Oh, I disagree.
And they slung it. Y'all
I
ran the same stories 3-4 different times and said it was new text messages, and it was the same text message.
I know you're a loyal listener to the Soul of Detroit podcast, and everybody should listen. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook. We got our website, all that other good stuff. Mm-hmm. But if you listened last week, you know that I drew a lot of parallels between what Trump is going through and what Kilpatrick went through. And the one thing that I think is undeniable is both of these guys blame the media for their problems, but neither one of them can cite anything that's been reported that isn't accurate or that they think needs to be corrected. I mean, and I know we don't want to go crazy on the Kilpatrick stuff, but I wish newspapers are smart enough to say we're going to save ourselves by doing certain kinds of stories. Most media companies are in business by a miracle because they have no idea what they're doing business-wise. There was just so many stories. There were so many things that came out. There was so much misconduct, so much bad judgment.
When you say so many stories, but how many of them were made up? Like
none
just
of them.
people.
'Cause I wrote almost every one of them.
Okay, the overtime thing.
With
how was that
with the bodyguards?
Yeah, but how was that on Kwame?
Well, because he's the supervisor, he's the mayor, the buck stops there, right?
Wasn't Gary Brown over EPU at the time, or no? It wasn't.
No,
Gary
the problem
Brown.
it was Lojo was they had a. Well, you're probably thinking of DC.
Nelda.
Ron. No.
Ron.
Yeah, he used to work with Coleman Young.
Right.
Yeah, but no. In fact, he jetted because he said, if I'm going to be in charge, I got to be in charge. And the mayor is letting a couple of just street officers run this unit, and they ran wild.
I mean, I beg to differ, but
sure, I know we try and limit this part of the show to about 25 minutes, half an hour. So what we're going to do is
right. Okay.
No, we're going to keep talking because there's some subjects you and I talked about that we definitely got to get to. But if you want to hear more of this conversation, there's plenty to hear. We're going to have the whole uncut version of our conversation on our website. That's mlsoulofdetroit.com. So you may hear an edited portion of our conversation if you want the whole thing. We're not trying to hide nothing. There's no games here.
Definitely not.
A story that I want to tell people about you and me that I think kind of touches on the soul of Detroit and what life is really like here. But I just want to, before we jump off of the Kilpatrick thing, and if you want to talk about some more, we can. But those stories are all true, so that pretty much covers it. But in your mind, in my mind, and in Kilpatrick's mind, because he never asked for a correction. But
can I ask you another one? I don't know if you
go
speak
ahead.
for them too. I've always been interested in Carlita and how she's doing and where she is. She disappeared after what happened in Texas. She disappeared.
Yeah,
is she okay?
She got her. She deserves her peace, man. Her and Chris, they deserve their peace. I don't really speak on them because I love them. First of all, both of them, and I just don't speak on that because that ain't,
That's fine.
that's a touchy thing, and I wouldn't want to speak for them. Carlita is a very well speaker, but she
journalism degree,
But she chooses not to, which I think is what's fascinating from my perspective.
I'm gonna stand on that. And if she chooses not to, I'm not.
Is Kwame aware? I know he did the Crime Town podcast. He talked to them a little bit. Is he aware of how much this story still it just is in everybody's consciousness around here in Detroit and now nationally?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's aware like we are out here, but I'm sure he knows, definitely, because, every time it gets dry around here, they run something on him. Like the other day when he got denied, the judge who sentenced him denied his thing. Of course he was going to deny it. She's not going to reverse herself.
Now, I have heard that she's been heard to say that she thought the sentence might have been pretty heavy.
Yeah, she handed it down then. Why did
No, I know, but she may have had some misgivings later. But yeah, when she had a chance to undo it.
First of all, his custody level doesn't justify the sentence.
His max was higher than that. On the scoring guidelines, it was much higher than 28.
But not because of his history, his criminal history or anything.
Well,
That's
he did
just
have some felonies because of the perjury case. So that increases your score.
And that was a tactic that they knew what they were doing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on, man. ML, don't do that.
There's a lot of people in town who think the prosecutor has no idea what she's doing.
Don't do that, ML.
But do we want to go down this road?
No, hold on. The first person ever tried criminally for a perjury charge is a sitting mayor, and she didn't know what she was doing. Is that what you're telling us? Is that what you're telling the people? Is that what you're saying? She didn't know what she was doing?
No. What I'm saying is I don't think she knew what the feds were going to do. But I think she knew what she was doing charging him. I don't think Kim Worthy liked Kwame Kilpatrick. And I think when he put himself
let me
in
ask you a question. Did you ever tell Kwame that you weren't going to stop till you got him federally indicted?
I never said that.
Who said that? Which reporter said that?
Not me.
Was it Devin? One of the reporters, one of you guys said that you weren't going to stop until you got him federally indicted.
No, I'll tell you what. So let's get to this because I think this is an interesting point. If Kwame Kilpatrick were here today, of course he won't be for another 15 years, but if he were here today, we'd go out for beer. I always liked Kilpatrick. Our relationship soured.
Had a funny way of showing it, bro.
Well, he had a funny way of showing it. He played us all for a fool. He bankrupted the city. He lied to all of us, and then he wants to be like,
you feel comfortable
saying
that you feel comfortable saying that Kwame Kilpatrick bankrupted the city?
Absolutely.
After it's been proven that that's not true?
Oh, that's not true. The $500 million pension deal was a key factor in bankrupting the city because it burdened us with obligations we could not meet when the economy went south.
Are you serious? So you're gonna base? So he came up with that himself. There was nobody that advised that deal.
So
anything. He doesn't play the stock market. He's not a.
No, but this is the way it works. When you're the boss, you pay the cost. He's paying a big cost, but when you're the mayor, you have to be responsible for what the people
everything that's going on now, Duggan isn't responsible for everything that's going on now.
Oh, I think he is.
He should be.
Okay, so why aren't you reporting on it like you did with Kwame?
Well, I've reported on his attempt to try and keep this thing quiet with Bob Carmack. I've reported on his willingness to try and keep
you know
the
what?
powers. Well, you wanted to ask. I'm trying to answer.
Because I don't.
We can go through the list.
This is the thing.
I'm the one who exposed all the big money behind him when he first ran for mayor in 2013. The first reporter to expose all that corporate money trying to make him mayor. That was me.
Here's the thing about that. You
hello me.
You mentioning it
6'1.5"
isn't the same as how you reported on it with Kwame. None of you guys report the way you did when Kwame was the mayor.
Well, I think
None of you.
Well, maybe there's just not as much there.
They show isn't the same with Kwame as it was with Duggan. I mean, now that Duggan is the mayor, you don't report the same way.
Well, I'm also not the City Hall reporter
LaDuff
anymore.
got ran out of town for reporting on it.
Let's set the record straight on LaDuff. LaDuff left Fox 2 on his own.
For
Fox
greener,
2
for
wanted
greener
to keep,
pastures.
No, well,
on the heels of the story, the biggest story.
I think he wanted to
the
go
biggest
national.
story. His story was bigger than yours. His scandal, his demo scandal, was bigger than anything that you guys ever reported on because it showed collusion.
But that one is
so
not,
let's go
that
back
one's
to
not
that.
done yet either, though.
Right. We don't know where that's going to end up.
Believe me, Charlie is still working.
Charlie is done.
But so let's go back to that, Danny,
Here,
because
Charlie is done here. Where is he?
He works for Deadline Detroit.
He had the hottest story here, and not only did he have the hottest story here, he was coming off the hottest story with Ficano. Then he got on Duggan, and then he got shut down.
So let me. Part of this show is to talk a little bit
stop
about.
He does do a podcast
Stop
out of
it.
his basement.
But part of this show is to talk about how journalism works. And let me touch on something you yourself just brought up. Why, if Charlie and I both work for Fox 2, why would we both be digging into Duggan full time when one of us is? If Charlie's all over Duggan,
The same
I'm
reason
doing
y'all
other
did when
stuff.
Kwame was the mayor.
I was a City Hall reporter back then.
But it was
we had 10 times
247.
as many reporters at
It
the
was
newspaper.
247 Kilpatrick on 247.
Right, but I was at the
Not
Free
just
Press.
24 hours or 7 days a week.
I like
It
what
was
you did
2,
there.
4, and 7.
365.
Yes.
Well,
Except
I'm
on
not,
leap year.
I'm
Then
not in
it's
the business to defend the
366.
media either, but I will say this. There was a bigger financial difference with the
Thank you.
media.
I've said that.
They
It
had
wasn't
more
about the
reporters.
truth.
Well, they had
No,
more.
there were more reporters.
There were more resources and reporters then to report.
Right, okay.
But if there's nothing to report on, then they can't report anything.
How's there nothing to report on?
Now I think there is. I don't think there's enough people digging in on it. I thoroughly believe that.
Well, I
And
will
think
tell
that's
you.
because 2, 4, and 7, and definitely the newspapers are shorthanded by their own fault.
The newspapers have abandoned City Hall. When I was in City Hall for the Free Press, I was one of 2 reporters
What a
based
coincidence.
in City Hall.
What a coincidence.
And now there are no reporters
What a
in City
coincidence.
Hall. So there's less eyes on Duggins. There's no question that there is
What
less
a
scrutiny on Mayor
coincidence.
Duggan because there are fewer reporters. But I've broken some bricks over Duggan's head. I can name half a dozen of them. I started to, and then you cut me off.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're Irish. Duggan is Irish.
Now I'm being profiled?
You guys related. Is that why you don't? Is that why you kind of hanging back on your Irish
Yeah, but
brother?
I'm also Hungarian and Scottish and a little tiny bit German.
But
Don't
you
try
claim
and
Irish.
bring me into World War
But you
II.
claim Irish. I've never heard you. Did you
I'm
hear
mostly
this?
Irish.
Did you hear
It's always
him?
been Irish and Scottish.
Listen, as long as you've been knowing this guy, had you ever heard him claim Hungarian? And
Oh, yeah.
German and
Well,
the rest of
actually, in room 7609, we're doing Hungarian new wave music.
that? Oh my
Dance
God.
music from Budapest.
You got, hey,
It's
y'all
very
gotta love this
popular.
guy.
It's very popular, man.
My man, ML.
Damn, I can't believe I just got racially profiled. By
You racially profiled
See
yourself.
how easy it is?
You
See how
racially-
easy it is, man? You fell right into that trap.
Man, this is man.
Okey doke from west side to east side, man. I can't believe it. I feel.
What year did you graduate, ML? What?
Oh, now you're going to go ageism on me?
Yeah, I'm just saying. You
Why don't you
you're
give me a
older than
Biden
me.
hug?
You're a little older than me.
Give me one of those Uncle Joe hugs,
Yeah,
man.
Biden kiss.
Yeah, give him a noogie.
Yeah, just-
Not even a head like giving the old
My
noogie.
shoulders are a little sore, Daniel. We're working them kinks out. But I graduated in 85.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so-
my freshman year.
Okay.
The year you graduated, Run DMC. No, that was 84. Run DMC had just come out.
I saw Run DMC at the Royal Oak Music Theater in 1984, and the show got cut short because Jam Master Jay's turntables went bad on him.
Wow.
So they cut it short. Everybody walked
How
out.
do you feel? Like, because I came up in the era where there's no phone, camera phones and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you love to have some footage of some of that stuff where, you know,
Well, I'll tell you, I'd love to have the guy I didn't see who I really would love to have seen was the Wizard. Remember the Wizard
DJ,
JLB?
Yeah, what? Yeah.
3-4 turntables going
Yeah,
at
the
once.
Wizard,
So,
yeah,
that
that
would
was-
have been great.
Man, the Wizard and Mojo, electrifying Mojo.
Well, we
just
we
talking
talked
about
about
him, yeah.
Electrify Mojo on the show. Yeah, he was great. So I want to bring us back to a story I want to tell people because I think it's going to blow their mind. But to you and me, I think we don't even think about it. And Bernard's my hook here. There was a story I wrote when the mayor came back after he was no longer the mayor, and he spoke at a church somewhere around Highland Park, Hamtramck, little church.
Okay, I remember.
And kind of the big headline was the mayor comes back, and Bernard caught a little heat because there's all the restitution and everything. And he was there with a woman in a Jaguar. Remember that? He was
Yeah, I remember that.
with the Jag. So it's like,
that.
what's Bernard doing rolling up in a Jag when he's supposed to be broke? And later on it came out, it's like, well, that's one of Bernard's lady friends. But so we stayed there for the mayor's talk, and then I stayed for the service because I was at the newspaper, so I didn't have to rush back and start logging video and writing a story and editing a package. And we're sitting in the pews, and we're there for a service. It was a mass. And so Daniel and I are sitting next to each other.
It was there.
And I remember Daniel saying, I can't believe I'm so close to this handsome man who I've liked for so long. And I said, take it easy, big fella, all 6 foot and 11/13 of you. And as
we in the
often
church.
happens in
We
mass,
were in the church,
Yeah.
sitting next to each other in the pulpit.
and we're singing hymns and holding hands.
Right.
And I think we did the Lord's Prayer. And,
and I think Kwame called me out. Like, I even got my brother in here, so, because I don't do the church religion stuff. Like,
and then later on, I think you either ran me over or tried to hit me with a shovel or something many days later.
Never that. I'd be up under the jail if I did. And if I bumped you like Rat Tie. Like Rat Tie, yeah, who's gonna whoop your ass? Rat Tie.
Hey, I've said from the beginning, I'm
Rat
glad.
Tie, that little motherfucker was gonna whoop
I'm glad
your ass.
because
He's got crazy. No, you're good.
yeah, he's one of those guys. You couldn't beat him; you'd have to kill him.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have that in me. Plus,
split his head and everything. He's still coming.
plus
Crazy always wins.
That's all you got.
Crazy wins.
I'm kind of a puss, so he'd have whipped me just on principle. But I think this is one of the things that people don't understand is that you can have different viewpoints. You can disagree. Yeah. Obviously, Daniel is incredibly wrong about the amazing journalism that I produced with Jim Schaefer at the Free Press, but we can still come together.
How's Jim anyway? He's
doing good. He's a boss now.
I think I seen Jim out at a restaurant.
He's the one who's making all those crooked decisions now. He's in a position.
He's the boss. He's the program director.
He's still at the Free Press.
Oh, okay. All
he's
right.
one of those guys who can tilt the news that you don't like so much, man. You got to get to Schaefer. He'll crack.
He'll crack.
He'll crack. But I think the point is, I think Detroit, which is a dangerous town, let's not kid anybody, but there's a civility here and there's a generosity here, and I'm not talking about money, and there's a grace in this city that people don't appreciate.
Not at all.
And you got to get deeper. And I will say, where I'll give you full agreement on the medias, I just don't think we get down to that level that much anymore. Partly because I think the media has been gutted by all the free content, but there's just not that commitment to understand and to try and connect with people and with stories on a level that goes beyond I see you there and you see me there, where you can kind of, have exchanges and some genuine interaction.
Well,
that's why I appreciate you coming on.
And thank you. And I would want to be here to represent, everything in life is a yin and a yang. You got your thing.
Am I yin or yang?
Yeah.
Because I thought you were throwing some yang earlier, so that must mess me.
At different points, it switches.
It does.
You come with a nice game, I have to play defense, and then I come with a game, you got to play defense.
I'm not taking the charge, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I'm not taking that charge.
I've dunked on many dudes, so you wouldn't have nothing coming there.
I got dunked on a guy at Wayne State where I think he's still coming down. It was like the cable guy. He took off at the top of the key.
You gotta realize,
next thing I know, he's stepping on my head and throwing down.
You got to realize, man.
Looked like Matt McQuaid.
A lot of people feel that you gave Kwame a raw deal.
I understand.
Because it didn't become, it seemed like with you were saying that you were reporting what the news was there, but a lot of that stuff was sensationalized.
Let's just say a lot of it was sensational.
Let's.
But there was no finger on the scale. I would beg the mayor to talk to me. And
let's say the earring. Let's say the earring.
I've had an earring longer than Kwame Kilpatrick.
Right. But how did it become such a story about the earring?
So I'll tell you the earring story. This is a good one. One of the things I've always tried to do when I'm covering a campaign is to spend a day on the road with the candidate, from the minute they wake up to the minute they shut down, because you get to know each other a little bit. You get an appreciation, and while people put masks on, there's moments of truth and genuineness in there, because over a 12, 18, maybe a 20-hour day when you're campaigning, you can't keep an act up. There's going to be something that breaks through. You know, you hug your kid, your wife pinches your ass, you leave a big tip for the wait, whatever it is, or you leave a little tip for the waitress, whatever it is. And so we're spending a day, Derek Miller's driving that broke ass forest green Jeep Cherokee that he had. Okay. And I think we went to the Franklin settlement, and we were heading over to like Magic 1051, which, whatever it was, modern Donny Hathaway, blah, blah, blah. And the mayor had taken his earring out, and I said, "What's up with that?" He said, "Well, I said, no. He's like, "Derek, should we tell him?" No, I said, "No, I can't tell you." I said, "Okay, well, I'd really like to know now." And he's like, "Can't talk about it. Will you tell me some days?" Like, think about it. So we get through the campaign. It's, as you remember, Jackie Curry, not so good at counting votes.
Right.
End of the night, everybody disbands from the ballroom at the Renaissance Center Marriott. Everybody goes up to their suites, and the next day, it's clear that Kilpatrick is the winner, and he has a press conference where he graciously accepts victory, and he kind of leans over to me and says, "I got something I want to talk to you about later." He was talking about a job. He wanted to hire me. So I said, "Well, can we get some time up in the suite to do an interview with the new mayor," which we get. He was very cool about that. He was a very cool guy. I mean, I got to tell you, just keep him away from your wife, your daughter, and your money, and you're okay. So anyway, so I said, "Can you tell me the earring story now?" And he says, "Yeah." And he says, "So what we did is we tested all kinds of stuff, right here, right now, all these other, some of the greatest political literature ever with him, Malcolm, Martin, JFK, all young leaders, just powerful, done great research, very strong campaign." And he says, "But the earring, it did not test well with the church ladies, so I had to take it out." Wow. And I said, "Well, now that you're mayor, are you putting it back in?" He said, "You bet." Yeah. So he puts it in, and I write that. I said, "I'm cool to write." He said, "Yeah, go ahead." He's like, like a lot of guys, like, "I won now. I'm cool for the next 4 years." Like Clinton thought that too, and they beat his ass for 4 years, and somehow he won again. And same as Kilpatrick, he won again. They both liked it. Anyways, so so the minute that story hits the paper, old church ladies are losing their mind. They're flipping their wigs, and old church ladies got a lot of wigs. Yeah. So they're like, he shouldn't be mayor anymore. He should be pulled out of office because they didn't like the earring, but more than that, they didn't like the fact that they thought they'd been played. And I think that was one time when Kilpatrick thought he was a little cuter than everybody.
But the thing with that, though, and this is with our people, with my people, or our people.
Guys from the West Side, or
you know what I mean. But
I'm assuming Detroit is.
The urban people.
That's a euphemism. That's what uncomfortable white people call black people. It's urban.
We let the littlest
black guy.
thing.
You're a black guy.
Yeah, we let the littlest thing throw us off of something so major. Like a lot of the stuff that it took away from the job he was doing. The petty stuff, a navigator, which was already in the system.
Oh man, we're gonna go
already. Let's get back. This is
gonna be like a telethon.
Yeah, we'll say that for later. But
the navigator is big. It's a symbol, and the earring was a symbol too, because he thought he was smarter than everybody, and it turns out even this dumb guy caught him a lot of times.
But this the thing about that. You were able to manipulate that to benefit you guys' thing, your shatik, like your. Do
you know where our navigator story ran? On like page 5B, real smallest. Now Steve Wilson went bananas on it.
Attest to the comprehensive skill of our people in the city at that time, just like now. How could that, with everything that's going on? You can't sell
black people short like that.
With everything that's going on.
You're basically saying your folks are ignorant. I don't think that's what you want to say. No.
I said comprehension. I said nothing about ignorance. I said
comprehension. If you can't comprehend, what are you?
Hey, look, don't put words in my mouth. I'm real good at speaking for myself. But I know that a lot of people comprehended what you guys were saying as for bad stuff, and it took away from the job that he was doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the morale of the city at that time.
Yeah, well,
crime was down. Crime was at an all-time low.
I don't remember that. I remember Project Destiny because all the kids were getting shot.
Yeah, but go back and check. They still don't. Just because the kids were getting shot, I don't mean they could have been getting shot less than what they are now. So overall, crime was down.
Now.
Right. Overall, in the city, the crime was at an all-time low. The morale of the city was at an all-time high.
Except in the mayor's office, the crime was at an all-time high.
No, I would beg to differ.
I know you would.
You guys sensationalize.
You're not even going to beg. You're going to insist.
So, no, I'm not going to insist. But when you look at the charges and what did he get convicted of? It was one bribe. It was one alleged bribe, and it was the money came.
You know who you
from
sound like
Bobby.
right now?
What?
Bernard. One lie.
Yeah, well,
One lie.
but it's factual. It's factual. The only bribery charge was the money that Bobby gave at the party, that Suave, that Gilbert, that everybody gave, but his was deemed a bribe. Why was that? How did they use that?
The John Rutherford money was deemed a bribe. The free
They
trips
didn't
on
use
Tony
it-
Suave's planes were.
They didn't use it in the trial.
I mean,
it came out,
Rutherford testified.
but he testified, but did they use it? Because he
may have testified.
He definitely testified.
I've heard people do that.
He recanted.
I heard it
He
here.
said he recanted.
No, he didn't recant.
I know what you brought up that made me want to. Derek Miller. Oh. What's your like with Zeke? Because you failed to mention that he got caught up on that $750,000 scheme. That's why the feds got at him, and you failed to mention.
What, you mean
that
Asian
the feds?
Village?
The
we
feds
report
came.
on Derek.
Yeah, but you didn't mention it just now. You just mentioned it like he just told.
Yeah,
like
I'm
he was
sorry.
doing-
No, if
he told out the goodness of his heart.
No, I didn't say that either.
The feds had caught him up on a
check the tape,
$750,000.
If Derek Miller's cousin was here or brother-in-law was here, trying to talk about how great Zeke was, we'd chop that up too.
You can find nobody in the city of Detroit that'll speak highly of Derek Miller. And in the whole scheme of things, Zeke, I remember Zeke at Cass.
I don't like what Zeke did, but I liked Zeke. I didn't like what Kilpatrick did, but I liked Kilpatrick.
Zeke lied to save himself. He lied. And he threatened the feds that if they lock him up, he was going to recant. That's why he didn't go to jail. You failed to mention that too.
I didn't know that. I'd never heard that before.
Why didn't he go to jail?
Because the judge felt that his cooperation was so key to the conviction.
He threatened Pitts went to the judge and told them, if my client, he's going to recant if he has to go to jail.
Well, here's the funny thing.
And he didn't go to jail.
The judge,
so that
at least on the record.
That case was that important that if Derek Miller recants, what happens to the case?
I think it still goes that way, and I'll tell you why. Because I talked to the jurors. They hated Derek Miller. They thought he was a terrible
And
witness.
they hated Kwame more. I know for a fact one of the jurors, the black lady from Grosse Pointe, you probably knew her. She probably was your neighbor.
Well, when I went to high school,
hated
the black
Kwame
lady from
already.
Grosse Pointe would have been the black lady from Grosse Pointe.
But the one that lived out that way, she was a known Kwame Kilpatrick hater. They don't even. It's people that live around her that don't even know how.
There were
she
no
got
black
on the,
folks
on
from
the,
Grosse Pointe
on
on that
Well,
jury.
not what Grosse.
There's somebody from way east, like Macomb
somewhere
County.
east, or wherever.
Well,
it
she
was.
went on
But
camera.
she was
We had her
known-
on TV talking about it.
Yeah, and the people saw her and was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she was on the jury. She's a known Kwame Kilpatrick hater." But
I never heard
that's
that.
neither here nor there. I mean, it's going to be a lot of stuff you're not going to hear because you're not in the circles that I'm in. Because
you never invite me over, man.
I mean, I told you. One of the things everybody. One of the things that people fail to realize is he's going to do a podcast with me. It's a home and away thing. So.
Kwame Kilpatrick?
No, you.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say.
How the hell we going to get bro to do
Well,
a
I was going to say,
podcast?
was that the 1-800-COLLECT podcast?
Well, you accept the charges from prison.
No, and we should mention, too, that Tobias Smith is here with us. He is the producer, director, pretty much everything behind the Kwame Kilpatrick documentary that I have watched, and I have to tell you, whatever you feel about Kwame Kilpatrick, you need to watch that documentary. You're going to learn some things, and when you talk about access, as a reporter, access can be everything. You see video of Bernard and Kwame Kilpatrick right after the sentences are handed down. You get some insights, and I'll tell you, you see people who maybe you've demonized because you never met them. You see them as human beings, and I don't care whether you thought it was the right verdict, as I think it was, or whether it was the wrong verdict.
Which I think it was.
That goes without saying, but I'm glad you said it. You have to be moved by the humanity that you see there. And I was touched. I can't imagine how you were feeling when you saw that.
And during this whole process, there's a person that gets lost in all this. Bobby.
Oh, hey, I love Bobby.
Bobby was just a contractor and all this stuff.
Got paid $1 million for not doing work on a deal that the mayor told somebody he had to put him into. But other than that, yeah, he's just a contractor.
Has that ever happened before?
I think that happens on a regular basis.
Okay, so why is only black people in jail for it?
There's white people in jail for it, too.
Who? From here.
That one guy, Pinky Whitestein, is in there.
Pinky Whitestein.
No, the guy who hooked up all those principals at DPS, who built that big ass mansion out in Oakland County, he's doing.
I thought he was Arab.
No, he's a white dude.
Oh, I must be getting them mixed up.
He's an older dude.
Yeah, but I guess y'all couldn't sell no papers or nothing off him, so we
Chuck
don't really know
Rizzo,
about it.
that dude's white.
Rizzo, yeah.
White as hell.
Chuck Rizzo's
He's-
Italian.
He's from the part of Italy where they don't get tans, and he's in prison.
Goomba.
Well, I don't like to throw words around, but I'll stop you when you get real crazy. But he's doing time. All those guys in Macomb County are doing time. I think the feds are up to 3 dozen.
Chuck.
Some of them are doing skinny time, but nobody got the time that Bobby and Kwame Kilpatrick got.
Why is that?
Well, guys in Cleveland did. It's a fallacy that public officials who have been convicted of major public corruption have not gotten commensurate sentences. In fact, the guy from Cuyahoga County in Cleveland who was in the Board of Commissioners there who was doing pay-to-play, he got 28 years before Kilpatrick did. And in fact, the feds used his case as an argument for how much time Kilpatrick should get, and the judge agreed. Actually, the sentencing guidelines, I think, had Kilpatrick getting like 35 years or more.
That's ridiculous.
Let's spin ahead and catch up with this charter commission because talking about all the things in the city that are not getting as much attention as they should, you say charter commission to people and they say, I'm bored as hell.
And what's that?
Yeah,
And I don't think
moving on.
people really realize how important.
So what do you see? You've been to these.
I've been to a couple of them, and I see organized chaos.
And what are they supposed to be doing?
Yeah, what do they do?
They're supposed to be ironing down the Constitution of the city.
Working out any flaws, tightening things up.
All the community agreements, whatever,
And that's where businesses are supposed to benefit the neighborhood, make sure Detroit people are working on
all
stuff.
those things are supposed to be ironed out. What's going to be what, how we going to move forward as a city collectively. Now, what seems to be happening is the Charter Commission, from my understanding, is supposed to be a representation of the people.
Yeah, it's elected, I think, at large, right? Or do they go by districts?
I think it's at large.
But I mean, it's supposed to be
at large,
drawn from throughout the community.
So why would it be any type of disturbance on the Charter Commission if everybody on the charter is for the people? There was a lot of money put behind Charter Commission candidates, and they won. And then the few people that did win that didn't have a lot of money, it seemed like they're the only people that's championing for the people.
Do they have any success?
Well, right now, it just seems like it's organized chaos.
Yeah.
Right now, it just seems like with all this stuff that's happening.
It's like a free-for-all, right? I mean, there's no order at the meetings. It gets off the rails.
The people that's for the people are trying to restore order, but the people that's for whoever the hell they for don't want it to be order. That's why I say it's organized chaos.
Okay. Well, who do you think it is who put the money behind the people who aren't for the people?
It has to be the corporations because the only people that have money is the corporations. Just like with anything, the people don't have money, So who's backing these candidates?
Yeah, but who's putting all the money into casinos? I mean, there's money in Detroit.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that we didn't have money to burn foolishly, but the money that where we should be putting it to better the future. First of all, the charter isn't about me. I'm 47.
Right.
My daughter and children gonna have to deal with whatever comes out this charter. And if our people don't understand the basis of that, and that's where I go with when I say comprehension. I'm not trying to down our people. I'm the last person that'll down our people. But the literacy rate is what it is.
That's a fact.
That's not me trying to be, and it is what it is. And I know I'm of these people. I deal with them every day. I see them. I help them. I do whatever I can because I'm around them all the time. But I know that we're not taking seriously the meaning of the charter. And right now, this is a very important time for us as citizens of Detroit with dealing with this charter. It's the city's constitution, and we're not taking it serious. And the people that's on the charter that is taking it serious are they have to deal with stuff that they shouldn't have to if everybody on the charter was for the people.
I don't doubt that there's some powerful people and there's some deep pockets trying to steer the charter. But the difference between you and me is you say it has to be, and I can't say it unless I've investigated and I can prove it.
Exactly. Well,
so that takes a long time to do, which is frustrating for people.
I understand that.
But you know,
I can say it.
You got a nose, you know it. You can smell money,
and
you see where it's coming from.
What I do is I look at how you guys report it, and I look how you guys are not reporting, and I say, well, wait a minute. These candidates have all this money, and they're not reporting on it. I wonder why.
Well,
so you can deduce that if you got common sense. I'm not saying that you're doing it.
No, I understand.
But obviously, somebody isn't reporting where the money was coming from, because when Kwame Kilpatrick was getting money, you knew who it came from, what they did, what their sister did, what their cousin did, who their cousin worked for, what part of the city, and everything.
They all work for Kwame Kilpatrick, so it was easy to trace them back.
But however you did it, y'all did it. But y'all don't do it no more.
You're absolutely right. There were more reporters, there was more scrutiny, and even though there are fewer reporters now.
It's copy now, folks.
The few I'm coming to you right now. The very few people who are still on the beat or still on the job are not committed to scrutinizing our public officials the way I was when I was at the Freeze. I'm still scrutinizing them at Fox 2, but now I'm scrutinizing the state level, the county level, some federal. I'm spread like a week from payday peanut butter.
Did you run a story on the
without the nuts?
Did you run a story the affair with the two? I think they were state senators. They were having an affair.
Oh, Courser and Gamrat. No, the Detroit News
and
broke
then
that.
It was just like psh, blip.
No, people.
Oh no, that was
people
big,
pounded that story for a year.
Big story.
Oh yeah, people went crazy. Yeah. I wish I had that story.
I know we did.
Yeah, I wish I had.
I think I remember you guys.
The news did, and
I think you guys even mentioned the difference in how they didn't go.
Yeah.
I think Dateline NBC did a story on it.
But they did a story on Kilpatrick too.
Sure, but I mean, there was a lot of
there was scrutiny.
And that whole situation was total horseshit.
I mean, I did a big story on a Supreme Court justice who didn't go to work. I mean, who else is going after Supreme Court justice?
That was it was a lady.
Zara. No, it was a guy.
Oh, okay.
White guy from
You
Malta.
did a story on a white politician.
And his family.
ML did a story on a white politician.
History.
You know, my people think you don't do stories on white politicians.
That's the problem. They need to watch some more stories.
You know that.
I know. I hear that. But like you said,
you won for 10.
There's a lot of people who aren't paying attention.
You won for 10. You won for 10. It's cool.
Shit.
You won for 10. He won for 10 on me.
You know how many stories I've done on Gabe Leland and Burton Leland and Mike Duggan? Those are the only white guys in Detroit politics.
Gabe Leland. That's
yeah. You know, if Gabe Leland here, you know what he'd say?
What?
Nothing. You ain't got nothing to say?
I mean,
he'd say it's a rumor mill town.
I don't really know Gabe. The times I've seen Gabe out, you know, he's.
Now, I think Ferguson Enterprises was in his district.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah,
so you don't want to know Gabe?
Yeah. Nah.
We got enough. We got enough Fergusons.
It's not Ferguson Enterprise now.
Now, are you running a company?
No, Ferguson is.
No, I know they took all the stuff and whatnot, but I mean, you're still in business.
Well, they didn't take everything. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still
Chill Pad. Is the Chill Pad still there?
How you know about that, man? And it wasn't a chill pad.
I sat through every day of the trial.
It wasn't a chill pad.
I sat through every
chill pad. It was It was a building that we had. No.
Oh, okay. I just
it was a building that we had that we set up where we can just enjoy ourselves for the workers that worked at Ferguson Enterprise. Because it was, you guys had created so much hoopla. We went somewhere. It was like we was rock stars. We couldn't even wear our
half past three
jackets.
was pretty hot for a while. People had. What else didn't we talk about that we need to talk about? I know
the NCAA.
We edited out the part where you said that I was pretty much right about stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember that part at all.
See, there it is, man. You tested lying right here on the radio. That's how easy it is. Everybody's doing it, man.
That was a good one.
Everybody's doing it. Let's bring in Sean Windsor from the Detroit Free Press for our great debate.
I won't change my mind on anything, regardless of the facts that are set out before me. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Brain nut. Brain cell. Brain nut. Brain cell. Brain nut infinity. Brain cell infinity plus one. No.
Thank you for sticking around for the great debate where we basically establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Windsor is wrong, especially in his picks. Sean, please tell me you're picking Texas Tech to beat Michigan State on Saturday.
Well, I owe it to you, don't I? I mean, I owe it to all Spartan fans. That's what I wrote in my last prediction. And by the way, I started hearing from people on Twitter who couldn't wait to hear what you were going to say to me, I guess to tear into me. I don't know.
So let me tell you something. As we established earlier in the show, I am mostly Hungarian, so I got some. I got some.
Don't forget German.
I got some gypsy and a little bit of German.
A little bit of German.
So I got some gypsy blood, but I don't do the prediction game either. So as a prognosticator, you're booty, but as a journalist, you're great. But we're going to talk about something where you're absolutely wrong. And our great debate topic this week, of course, is one and done. And still here with us are Daniel Ferguson. Daniel, what's the name of your podcast?
In these streets.
In these streets. Okay.
In these streets.
Mark Fellhauer, whose bunch is always funky. And, of course, Sean Windsor, the Detroit Free Press. Check him out at freep.com. So let me start us off. One and done is done. Izzo tried to play that game. He couldn't. He's winning with seniors. The guy who hit the shot that put us in the Final Four is a walk-on fifth-year senior getting his master's degree. That's how you win. Calipari hasn't been able to do it. Krzyzewski or Kubelczewski or whatever the hell his name is, the anteater, he hasn't been able to get it done. So, fellas, since I'm right, we can just move on to the next part of the show.
I'm still stunned. Did I hear that right, that you said you were Hungarian?
I'm hungry, and I'm a quarter Hungarian.
And German, but you were Scottish and Irish, and what the heck, man?
I'm a man for...
what's going on?
I'm almost as many things as Charlie LaDuff.
Right. You got to get this one and done thing. The AAU circuit is going to probably produce somebody, and it'll be somebody next year where,
Zion couldn't do it? I mean, if you can't win with Zion...
So what are you trying to say, though? If you're a college coach, you don't bother recruiting the best player that's out there?
Don't listen to Mike. Come on. He's fine when he's doing news, I guess. But when he's talking about sports, come on, man. Let's deal with some facts. First of all, Krzyzewski and Calipari both won with one-and-doners.
National
Anthony
titles?
Davis, does that ring a national title? Does that ring a bell? Anthony Davis?
Is that the brow?
Gilchrist?
Yeah.
What's that?
The eyebrow?
Yeah.
The brow.
Yeah, but see, just nobody wanted to get too close to him because they were afraid that thing might crawl off on him.
And Krzyzewski won in 2015 over your Spartans in the semis, by the way, at the Final Four.
We weren't
that
trying.
Was just Okafor.
We didn't want that one.
Grayson Allen, Justice Winslow. That doesn't sound familiar to you. You blocked that out.
But that's two championships. There have been a lot of other championships won since then.
There's no question that the veteran teams, Villanova last year, although the guy that went off, DiVincenzo, I'm trying to think of his first name.
Archie
Yeah. Well, he was older, but DiVincenzo, I think, was a sophomore. The key is, like, if Duke had what they had in 2015, all those great freshmen with Quinn Cook, who's he's a end of the bench guy in the NBA, but he was great in college as a senior point guard. And Emile Jefferson, I think, was on that team. So when you can mix the great young talent with a junior or senior, especially at a point guard or off guard, and you can mix that a little bit, that's when you get a dominant team, like that Duke team was and like the Kentucky team was. But it's hard to find that balance. Think about Izzo's teams last year, right? Jaren Jackson, Bridges, but they were a relatively young team. If they had maybe a version of Cassius Winston you see now mixed in with last year's team.
But that's the point. You don't get a version of Cassius Winston as a sophomore, as a freshman. Deontay Davis goes after his freshman year. Jaren Jackson goes after his freshman year. Miles sticks around, but never.
Yeah. So
but if he stayed as a junior,
because he might.
No. I say you can recruit him, but I think if you try and do this, we got a very small window. We're going to do it right now. You may get lucky every once in a while, but it's these teams where you develop where they have to buy into the program, where they have to learn. That Duke team, if it came back next year, now I think the Spartans are going to be pretty tough next year, but if Duke came back next year, how could you beat that team with some experience?
The idea, though, is what Duke and Kentucky have tried to do is do it with all the freshmen, with all one-and-dones, or 3 or 4 of them, or 2 or 3 of them, and that's where it's been more difficult. But if you plug Zion Williamson into a team that Krzyzewski, where he's getting top 50 guys, top 30 guys, and develop them for 3 or 4 years, and then a talent like that comes in, like what Carmelo did with Syracuse. Yeah. So he was surrounded by veteran talent, right? That's probably the way to do it. You're not going to stop recruiting a guy like Carmelo. But the point in all this, right? The NBA is about to change their rule.
Good.
So Zion Williamson or the next Zion Williamson, if there is one, is not going to go to play college at all.
It should be fair across the board. It shouldn't just be the quote-unquote black sports where the kids can't go straight. If they can go into tennis or hockey or baseball, they should be able to do it in football and basketball.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't understand why.
What about diving? There's a lot of black divers out there.
Well, I mean,
And the synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
That's big.
Well, the NBA, that's about to change, right? I mean, Izzo and Krzyzewski were talking about that in Washington, D.C. I mean, Krzyzewski said, he welcomes it. I think most coaches do. But you're talking about a handful of players that are going to go straight to maybe at first you'll have more that want to see if they can do it, but it'll settle out, and you'll have a handful of players that do it every year.
I think Izzo once again has shown the world how life needs to be run. And that's your great debate. Sean, can you stick around for Geek of the Week?
I sure can.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So our Geek of the Week is all these guys that Sean Windsor, the Detroit Free Press, has been rubbing elbows with and sharing chicken strips, and that's the national sports media, who... They're heartbroken that Duke is not going to advance. They can't believe it. I was listening to ESPNU on satellite, and the headline was, Duke does not advance. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought history was written by winners. How about MSU advances? And we're sorry Duke isn't there. And these guys, they care so much about the student athletes, and they're all worked up about it. And I heard Boomer Esiason talking about how this Kenny Goins is a reason why we need to pay students and all this other stuff. Well, if you care so much about these kids, can't you learn how to pronounce their names?
You know what? Come on, man. It's not. You say national media, who you're talking about. You're talking about ESPN. And by the way, that game,
and CBS.
That regional final, that Elite Eight game, rather, it was the highest rated Elite Eight game in 14 years because of Zion Williamson.
Yep.
So I thought it was their
Zion.
Perspective. They're going to talk about it.
Well, I am.
No, I get what you're saying, but that's a provincial attitude, man.
If you care, take a minute to get the man's name right. Kenny Goins. National Sports Media, you are our Geek of the Week.
See you again.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. Got the time.
Welcome to room 7609, where we take new wave artists and new wave tunes, tracks that should have been hits that weren't quite hits, and we're trying to give them a second chance at glory. If you've been listening to the show, you know that we've had a lot. Daniel Ferguson still with us. He's taking the place of Drew Wave, talking about this week, Transvision Vamp. As you know, and a lot of you are listening, if you've missed the shows, go check them out at Google Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher. I'm really big on new wave bands, and especially women new wave bands. Bands led by women, bands consisting entirely of women, because it turns out it wasn't just the guys who looked like women in new wave bands. The women themselves were actually kicking a lot of ass and dropping some great tunes. And that brings us to Transvision Vamp, which was led by the superlative Wendy James. And this is a tune, if you've never heard it before, check it out because you're going to love it. It's Transvision Vamp with If Looks Could Kill.
For suckers, no time for lose. If the beat don't rock, don't play my tune. You know what I'm saying. 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 If it's to kill, I'd never look at you again. I'd never look into your eyes. I'd never look at you again. Just for the thrill, baby.
I love, one of the things about New Wave that I think is totally, totally underappreciated is the rhythm section and that driving beat, boom, boom. And this one, I love the backing vocals where they're actually saying boom, 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 boom. Wendy James. Now, she's beautiful, and I was telling the guys here during the selection here that something about a woman with a little bit of an overbite that does it for me. That may be weird, but I don't want her to.
All of our fetishes.
Yeah, I don't want her to be open
Yours
like
is weird,
beer
but
bottles
whatever.
or anything
Right,
like that. But
it's
just
just like a fascination, like, man,
something different, kind of not so much, like designed on a computer.
As long as it doesn't affect abilities.
No, and as you can tell, she got some great pipes. She can go low, she can go high. Transvision Vamp was really, she kind of was a bad girl at the time. They came out late 80s, sort of the back end of the new wave movement, and she was very provocative, very assertive, very in charge of her sexuality, which back then freaked people out. Now it's just like, yeah, whatever, man.
What was her name?
Wendy James. And that was kind of their last hurrah, as such as it was, because the band broke up shortly after If Looks Could Kill was released. But I want to thank all of our guests, especially Daniel Ferguson, first guest ever here on ML Soul Detroit. Daniel, thanks for coming out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. I'm
it's a
glad
pleasure.
you chose me to be first, and hey, I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And you're probably hearing a truncated version of our conversation. Check out the full uncut conversation at mlsoulofdetroit.com. You didn't hear him, but he's here, and his work speaks louder than he does. Tobias Smith. KwameMovie.com. Check out the Kwame Kilpatrick documentary. You'll see some amazing behind-the-scenes stuff. Sean Windsor is back in Minneapolis getting ready for the weekend. Check him out at freep.com or pick up a paper. Give him $1. Let's hire some of those reporters that we need to cover City Hall. And Mark Fellhauer somehow is going to fit this all into a neat little box.
I just live here now.
We appreciate you listening. Please check us out on iTunes. Check us out at Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Rate us unless you hate us. Share it. Let a friend know what's going on here. And, of course, we want to hear from you. mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Keep your suggestions coming for Geek of the Week, for the Great Debate, for Room 7609. And call us. Give us a call. 313-288-9070. 313-Butterfield-8-9070. We'll be back next week. I'll let you know how things went in Minneapolis. Is that how they say it? I guess that's
close enough.
Is that where Kenny Goins is going to be?
Yeah.
He's going to be in Minneapolis. Well, we're going to figure it out by next week. Thanks for listening to ML Soul of Detroit, the Red Shovel Network. Proud to have us here. We're proud to be a part of it. And Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Next week, same time, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures,
M.L. Elric
stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville with an original story by Russell Hughes. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. The part of Susie is played by
Don Windsor.
Production is supervised by
Art Fellauer.
This is a Mayfair production from Hollywood.